This is WFO Radio.
Hey, everybody. Factory Stock Podcast is back. Joe Costello from WFO Radio. In the WFO Radio time slot, we're going to be talking constant aviation, factory stock showdown, one of my favorite categories. And I would encourage everybody out there who's watching live on WFO feed to subscribe to Factory Stock Podcast for all the audio of these interviews with the stars of the constant aviation factory stock showdown. Bill Skillman going to be joining us again. Very similar to what we do on WFO Radio. If you win, you're on. It's as simple as that. So the dominant racers are the ones we get to know the most. And of course, we spread it around a little bit in between. But as we are fighting our way back with Factory Stock Podcast, Bill Skillman has been the guy really taking over from Drew a couple of years ago, where Drew went on and dominated and was the champ. We've got Bill Skillman just seconds away. I do want to remind everybody, though, to subscribe to the feeds and follow on social. Thunder Valley Nationals this weekend. It is going to be great. And a big shout out to all the WFO Radio sponsors and partners, people who make it possible for me to create this content, like PhillipsConnect.com, and of course, Total Seal Piston Rings, Samtech.edu, Marvin Rodax, CoffeeandGrills.com, of course, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, FTI Performance Transmissions, VP Racing Fuels. Everybody has been so great. I already mentioned Total Seal. Let's go out and talk with a man who won again. This one was a very decisive victory, Mr. Bill Skillman. What's up, Bill? We meet again.
Hi, Joe. Sorry to interrupt you there. How you doing today?
I'm great. I'm super excited to be going back racing again. We're going to be headed up to Thunder Valley. First time we've had a normal Thunder Valley race in quite some time. No 2020 race. 2021 was I don't want to call it half-baked, but it was at the end of the year. We only had a couple of categories. This is going to be the real deal, and you've got to be excited to get back in your hot rod.
I'm really excited. I'm looking forward. I know they're making some changes on the track, doing a little grinding, it looked like, a little prep. So hopefully everything's good for Bristol. Bristol's always been a little bit of a bumpy track, and, it's something that you have to manage the racetrack. It's, hopefully they straighten it out a little bit. So.
I hope so, too. And, we just had a conversation with Alan Reinhart yesterday about what their short-term and long-term plans are, and they both sound good, right? Like a little something for us this year, and then in the future, maybe a big something out there at Thunder Valley, which would be great. But some people are probably listening and going, yeah, but aren't those suspended race cars, like a real car? Do you feel bumps out there in these cars?
You definitely feel bumps. Our cars, at least my Ford, I wouldn't say it's really well planted in the rear when it gets, it tends to paddle the tire down track and stuff. And, it's amazing. I went to, over 11,000 and some change at the finish line at Charlotte. So it was, it got in some oil or something. So it's it can get pretty hairy. You feel that tire paddling under you. So.
I can imagine. Okay, let's talk about your round by round, which this is what this is. You had to run Anthony Troyer. Anthony had a final round out there in Gainesville, and had probably the most heartbreaking loss situation you can have. And I wonder how it has affected the competition, because his electric window switch broke. And I always talk about how cool it is that these cars have power windows and they roll up and down window, and that's great. And, oh man, this is a race car. Except when this happens, it had to be a shocker for every single person out there in the pits. Like, oh my gosh, my window doesn't go up. I don't get to race. What did you obviously won the round. He says he's never rolling his windows down ever again. What about you? What do you think the conversation has been?
Well, I tried to wait on him just to see if he could get going. And, unfortunately, they waved me on and said it was, I had a, competition single, which, it's always great to get the win, but you do it one at a time. And he's a good racer. He's going to win some races. He's good with that left foot. He gets the car going, and he'll have his day. But that, write it down in that big old book you got, Ways to Lose, and it comes up. Yeah. We've had that where the power windows wouldn't go up before, and had to turn all the power on to get them to even go up. To get just too much voltage.
Wow. So. Is that worth okay, there's cycle life on everything?
I don't know. I don't know what his failure was. I don't know if it just had too much power to it, and it wouldn't, like they're running, the 16-volt batteries or whatever, and putting too much voltage to it. It wouldn't work. I don't know. I don't know if it failed. I don't know if the wire fell off. I'm not really sure what happened. So
wow, that's just amazing.
That's a bad luck. Really
it's a big book. The Book of Ways to Lose is a very big book.
It's just like understanding women. The book is about this tall off the ground. That's volume 1.
Totally get it. Second round, it was Lenny Lottig. It's funny because they raced each other in the final round of Gainesville, and you got a shot at both of them. And the consistency you guys demonstrated, to me, that was the story of the day. Low 80s, consistently going down the racetrack.
Right. I think Tommy and Dave do such a good job of finding the sweet spot of that car, where we're not blowing the tire off. We're going down the track. We aren't the fastest, 0 to 60 by any means, but we run good through the middle and run good up top. So that's kind of, they come from that pro stock rank where you got to go down the track. If you don't go down the track, there's no chance of winning. So sometimes we borderline on being too conservative, but that's okay. They've done really good for me. So, if I'd been tuning, it'd probably been a lot more of a hot, a little spicier.
Well, these guys are great. And the conversation about, handling this team racing, like you can't unlearn what you know. And this whole group learned how to race pro stock at the highest of levels. So now you're racing. The car looks a little different, but how are you supposed to unlearn all of those things you learned running in pro stock? You can't, right? You're running that way and it's working.
Right. You can't. And, they are very methodical and they work on one thing at a time, and they try to find out what makes the car, instead of making 2 or 3 changes at one time, you make one change and see, does it make a difference? Are we making you start making 2 or 3 changes at the same time. You have no idea what fixed it or what made it worse.
Exactly. Semifinal, you got to go up against the back-to-back champ, Aaron Stanfield. And what's been interesting, those guys have, they've got a Ford now, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah. I think it's great because now there's understanding. It's not like there's a wall between the two manufacturers, the Ford guys and the Chevy guys. We got a guy out there who's building them both. Turk has built them both.
Right. And
I think that cross-pollination is really important to understanding what works, what doesn't, what's fair, what's not fair, how to make the cars equal, who's being asked to do too much or spend too much. All of that is great, but none of that has to do with what happened on the racetrack, which is you throwing down a 780 with a 1 to take him down.
Yeah. Well, he's as tough as it gets. You're not the champion multiple times for no reason, and they've got a great race team. We're going to see what happens next week with the weight break. So we'll see how competitive if they're more competitive, if it's good for them, not good for them. They're going to take off 50 pounds. It's a big chunk of weight. Weight. So.
Well, exactly.
We'll
and so
they've been to all the finals and all the semifinals, and they're the one that gets the break. So it's kind of amazing,
Well, those conversations, like they're fun to have, but I hate that we have to have them, right? But how else are we going to do this with the two different technologies, the 4 valves and the 2 valves and all these different, the shape of the car and the air, like there's so many variables. I think it's kind of a miracle they're as close as they are. NMCA just made some changes, right? Like there's a lot of changes going on to try to keep these cars within a certain window.
Right. It's, I guess it's always, I thought it was a heads up class, but it's really a parity class. That's, I guess that's really what NHRA drag racing is. They want they want their class to be as close as they can be, all the cars to be able to run as close as they can. And I guess let the driver do and the team do what they can do, I think our guys would do good in whatever. If we were running a Dodge or if we were running a Chevrolet, I think these guys would do a really, really good job, and we love being in a Ford, especially since we sell Fords. So.
Right. Well, and that's a big part of it as well. We'll see how it all plays out. And, that weight break announcement, I'm kind of looking for something to read from NHRA Racer. And I don't, here it is, way back, the 18th, right? The COPO will be the minimum weight for the 2019 to 2022 COPO will be reduced by 50 pounds from 35.75 to 35.25 based on that. So we'll just have to see how it works, right? And how it all plays out. There's certainly a lot of them out there. Right.
That's a big change. 50 pounds is a pretty big wallop off at one time. So we'll see what happens. We'll see see how they run, and see what it looks like after the weekend.
And you even said it though, and that's not always like 50 pounds is good, but where you get 50 pounds on a car like that, right? Like how much weight are in these cars? It doesn't feel like there could be that much weight in these cars.
Well, I'm a pretty big boy. I'm full. So there's not a lot of weight in my car. We don't have a ton of weight. We, to get to that 35.75 and maximum of 3,600, you've got to be definitely north of that 35.75. You just don't want to pull in there and weigh light. So, you try to weigh 85 or 90 or something and just, try to race it there, So, yeah, I don't know. It's when you pull all that weight out, what does it do for your ballast, the balance of your car, because you've got weight hung, on the nose or in the trunk or whatever. So what happens when you start pulling that weight out? We'll find out, I guess, if it's good for them, not good for them.
Right. And it might not be good for them. It might be good for them. It'll be, we'll find out not long from now, a couple of days from now, at Thunder Valley, and it should be great. And then the final round, you and Dan Condon. It was great to see Dan have a good weekend. Scott Libashire.
Danny started out hot. He ran really good. I was really, really happy for him.
Me too. And the final round, like I'm looking at the numbers and trying to recollect what went down. I think I was running around getting interviews at that point, but he hung tough with you to 1,000 foot. And then it looks like just the way he had only went 174 miles per hour, maybe something was going away or who knows, but that was a tight race.
It was a real tight race. Yeah. It was a couple foul. What wasn't far apart. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was a tight race. He probably should have beat me. I was late on the tree, and he was better than I was. Neither one of us were exactly great, but
86 to a 63. So
it was blinding up there. You couldn't see anything. It was just pure glare. So it was really tough. So
what can you do if you hit it? Like if, you get up there and you stage shallow, like you normally stage 5/10 Pro Tree with those cars, the way they let you got to smash the gas, like, and you get it like, man, I got it. I crushed it, but I wasn't early. What's the reaction time?
Me, it's a good light's probably in the 30s. I see these guys that are 7, 8s and 10s, but not my car doesn't do that. It just doesn't react like that. Now, whether it's me, it's probably me being old. Who knows, but it's, I'm kind of that used to be that 30s to 50s guys, and I've been terrible this year, but hopefully it gets better.
Well, if not for the competition, because you're already running real well, and you ran comp out there also. So you won in Showdown, and I remember you ran real well in comp out at the 4 wide, and you've got the 2 cars and running one in comp. Has that been helpful to you to run a Showdown car in comp? It's not exactly the same, but I'm sure there's data that transfers, right? Like you ran comp with the older car, 30 minutes
14
ago.
car. Yeah. I don't know that we don't really, I don't think we really look at one and look at the other. No, because we don't run them the same way. We're not running the black cars hard, so it's, but it runs good. It's a good race car, but you're leaving on a totally different tree. So that kind of changes everything,
Yes. Yeah. The 510 Sportsman tree for me, I think it's amazing to see you spot altereds. That's crazy.
Yeah,
That like the visual of a Showdown car in Comp Eliminator, and it would be also true for a Hemi car, to see you spotting like, K altereds. It's got the 4-cylinder. It's an altered Bantam style, and you have to wait for them in a 3,600-pound street car. Like that's awesome.
It is pretty awesome. Yeah. You should be. You thinking you're going to be chased. So, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It's I've really enjoyed running Comp. It's been fun this year. So hopefully we'll get a win. Just see what we can do. We should have had one by now, or maybe two, but the driver kind of let us down there.
Wow, you keep saying that, but I'm sure the guys are very happy with their driver. So let's preview a little more Thunder Valley in that we got a good list of entries. The usual suspects are all out there. This one is a special race, the Showdown being out there, and it's Father's Day weekend. We're going to see a Drew appearance. Does this guy race anymore?
I can't get Drew out. Drew's raising babies and working, so he's got to stay home. He's got to stay home and send me a check,
Okay. Well, at least the flow, you got the flow going in the right direction.
No, he's he is, he's enjoying working, and he's a great father, and I'm really proud of him for, what a great dad he is. And, hopefully we'll get him back in the race car. He's, I don't know why he wouldn't want to run, but, he's trying to do his thing at work, which I'm really proud of him. And, he's a good daddy. So
yeah,
good for him.
Well, he's the kind of guy, my estimate is that he gets the selling of the cars, right? Like what he does, his job gives him a thrill. Maybe not exactly the same as racing, but he's into it. He's not the kind of guy who shows up to work because he's got to go to work and everybody's got to go to work. You got to go to work. No, he goes to work to get after it. Like he is motivated by his job. It's something that he actually gets a thrill out of.
Exactly. Yeah. He's enjoying the car business. He, as much as he raced, he was here 3 days and then gone 3 days and gone, and it's hard to get into any type of rhythm, in the car business. It's hard to earn any respect from the people that you work with. If you're not there, it's hard to lead people if you're not there quite a bit. So you got, he's earning his stripes right now. That's what he's doing. So
I like it.
Yeah.
Good. Earn the stripe. Not like his dad who can just blaze out of there and go race.
Yeah.
Hey, he won the U.S. Nationals. That's a pretty big deal. Looking at the entry list, it's gonna be tough. I don't see as many Fords as I would like, though. Just you and David Janik, and I'm still wondering about that. Now, okay, that 50 pounds that we just heard about, that could be annoying to some out there. But what do you think is the deal? Or is it still just schedule-wise? Like the Ford guys like to run over there on the NMCA side, and they are more regional. But this race seems like it would be close enough for a lot of those Michiganders and others to come hit.
Well, you've got Chicken Man that lives in Tennessee, so we'd love to see him there. I think what it boils down to is these Ford motors are very, very fragile. They're not made to be doing what they're doing. You look at a Dodge piece or a Chevrolet piece, they're race motors. They're race blocks, they're race cylinder heads. They were developed ground up as a race piece. These were street car motors is what they are. And, they don't have enough cylinder head bolts. They don't have the things to make them, they're fragile, and we're tearing them up, and there just aren't any parts. I mean, there aren't any blocks. There's no, can't get valves, can't get pistons, you can't get rings. It's crazy. And, we went out and bought a couple used blocks because we couldn't get any blocks, so just so we had some stuff on the shelf. So
yeah,
not any parts. So that's the biggest problem. They're looking at running them, and, how many races can I get out of this before I have to freshen it or do something, or it blows up, or, spits head gasket out or whatever. I guess you got to pick your poison,
That makes sense. We had this conversation early in the week about the nitro ranks, though, and like pro stock, which is all aftermarket stuff, and that those guys were able to get ahead of the supply chain issues. It's got to be much more difficult when you're at the whim of a manufacturer and you're part of like a massive supply chain with parts and pieces, and they're trying to get stuff for the lot. Like I'm hearing, the chip shortage, all of that stuff is still affecting the lots, the guy, like for regular cars, not just performance cars.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, we have so few Fords on our lot right now. It's like I'm selling asphalt, not cars. I have lots of asphalt, but it's been the model has changed a little bit. We have a lot more people ordering cars and a lot more people that are pre-buying cars that are coming in. So those cars we're selling cars, but they're not really ever sitting on the lot. You've got to kind of come in, find out what you have coming, or decide what you're going to order. It's kind of how it's been. We have some brands that we're getting, more allocation on, and other brands are suffering. Right now the domestics, Ford and GM, both have been super short on vehicles. So, we have Hyundai and Kia, and we're getting product from them. Not what we'd like to have, but getting pretty good product from them. So,
wow. Well, hopefully we're at the, the final phases of this situation that we've been in.
I don't think so.
No,
I think we're still right in the middle of it. I don't think anybody has an answer right now. So everything is so chip, thirsty. Everything, electronics just keep getting, more computer power, and there's more demand for more chips. And that, a lot of people think there's one or two chips in a car, and a loaded F-150 has 1,500 chips. Our electric cars are going to have 3,000 chips. So now they're in clusters. They're different, but they're not. There's a lot of chips that are involved. It's not just a single chip that you're waiting on, or two chips.
Wow.
Yeah. So a lot of decontenting, a lot of you don't get all the maybe the bells and whistles you wanted. You might not be able to get that collision avoidance or heated seats or start stop or whatever. Some of the things that sunroofs, they're just trying to eliminate as much stuff as they can to be able to build product.
Got it. Well, I normally have a positive spin for things, but not that. So just gonna move on.
I wish we did. We did,
No, it is what it is. Well, this is the downside, right? To loading the vehicles up. Like, you remember cars when they were just a car, right? Like just a car, and you drove it and it looked cool or it didn't, and you felt cool about it and it got you there. Now they're data centers and people are working from them and their office is there, and they've got to have all this and the safety stuff, like people's lives are being saved, but it takes more to do that.
Right. You instead of visiting the dealership now, a lot of times they're going to do automatic downloads for reprograms on your car. While you're sleeping, you'll never know what happened. So, transmission's not shifting right. They see something wrong. They do a download overnight and you've got, transmission's fixed, so there's going to be a lot more of that. It's a lot of these cars are coming with modems now, and, it's pretty data heavy. It's a different world.
Very Formula One. But that's the way it's going, right? Like that's technology. That's the way it's going. At least they're not flying yet, right?
Yeah, exactly. Hyundai wants to build flying cars, so they're saying they're going to be building those for us. So we'll see one day. Crazy.
Okay. Hey, I don't want to call myself a futurist or anything. And Drew always talked about this with Pro Stock, the technology and what's available and what you can do, and tuning cars from Wi-Fi, and that we shouldn't be afraid of any of it because it's here and coming, and that's just the way it goes. And I agree in many ways, but this is also the tough side of it. Someone's got to make all that stuff, and you got to control the supply line. And if you've got issues and everybody wants the same chips, then there's a problem.
Yeah. And then it becomes a bidding war for those chips and who's going to give the most for them. And, so.
Yeah. Yikes. Is there anything that we, Factory Stock Showdown related? I love how we got off topic, by the way, Bill. Because you're a very knowledgeable guy when it comes to this, right? And when you offer an opinion, I'm listening because it makes a lot of sense. You move a lot of cars. I've driven past. I know how big that place is, and I think it's great. But as far as Constant Aviation Factory Stock Showdown, is there anything that you wanted to say to the fans of the category, the folks out there who listen to WFO, about the race this weekend or about the category that we haven't already covered?
You know, the category, if you love heads-up racing and you want to look at a car that you can drive down the road, it looks just like a car you're driving down the road, there's not a better class out there. Great racing, super tight finishes, when the track's good, it's amazing how tight these cars are, the whole field. And it's you got to be on your game, it's and we've had multiple winners. That's the great thing about it. It's not just one person's been dominating this series over the years. It's it's kind of round robin around. A lot of people have had their chance in the winner's circle, and that just shows what a good class we have, out there. Good racers.
Absolutely. No, it's going to be fun to watch. I always get excited when Factory Showdown comes up. I get excited. My only beef is, and I know why they don't let you burn out across the starting line. I get it, but there's not enough time to tell the story.
No, it's bam, bam, bam. I mean, our class is done in 5 seconds. You're exactly right.
I think
they need more time in between. It would really. I think that the fans would want to hear that. They want to hear they should be able to hear the stuff that's going on, and the commentary that you guys are making about the drivers, so they know more about the driver. So that's one thing would be great, that if you were able to hear, before the burnout, there's a dead time or whatever, and there's they talk about them or after, it would be
15 seconds more per pair per session would make all the difference in the world. It's a very interesting class because it runs quick. It's a very quick running class. Here they are, 1 o'clock, and they're done at 1 time.
Yeah, used to prep in front of us, and but that kind of went away. Now it's a drag one way and a drag back the other way, and off we go. And it's. And our class can be very tricky, especially when you're running behind, when they switch up the, you get behind the wrong cars in the class before you, you look up and there's no track there. They pull all the rubber up, and it's got, crew chief's got to be really good and go up and make the right call on your car.
I love it. The drama. Bill, thank you very much. Say hi to Drew. We'll see you this weekend, Father's Day weekend, and good luck in another one.
All right, let's get all the fans out there. Thunder Valley is a great place to watch a race. What a beautiful track. It's a neat area.
Absolutely. Now we'll be there. All right, Bill. Thank you. Bill Skillman, winner of the Virginia Nationals in Constant Aviation Factory Stock Showdown, previewing the Thunder Valley Nationals here on WFO Radio, Factory Stock Podcast, and that is pretty cool. Yeah, like how about, I know Stock Eliminator, you don't burn out across the starting line. I get it, but they run so quick, like between pair, it's probably the quickest category. I would say it's the quickest category of all the categories, from burnout to top end of the racetrack to turn off, because they can turn off really easily. All right, guys, that's going to do it. I encourage you to subscribe. Big thanks to all the sponsors of WFO Radio and the people who make it possible for me to go out there and do this, talking about Phillips Connect and VP Racing Fuels, talking about FTI Performance Transmissions and Total Seal Piston Rings, talking about samtech.edu, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, Marvin Rodax Coffee and Grills.com, and of course, the folks at CIP1. If you're an air-cooled Volkswagen guy, you got to hit them up on their website, CIP1.com. That is going to do it for this edition. We have got more WFO later in the week. If you're in one of those Factory Stock Showdown message boards, we encourage you to share the show, comment on the show, follow the podcast. We're trying to build things back up once again. That's going to do it for this edition of Factory Stock Podcast. Bill Skillman, thank you very much, and we'll see you at the races.